I know the feeling. You scroll through a sea of car lifts. The pictures look sleek. The specs promise 11,000 pounds capacity and a symmetric clear floor design. But then you get one home garage model, and it barely clears a sedan. The hydraulic hiss is louder than a lawn mower, and you end up paying for a piece of equipment that sits idle. That hesitation is real, and it's why I wanted to dig a little deeper before I hit record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video, I'll walk through the actual day-to-day experience of using the Autocado Store LM110S two-post lift, point out the hidden trade-offs, and help you decide whether it's worth the space and the price tag for your shop. First off, let's talk about the environment this lift expects to live in. The LM110S is a two-post, 110V hydraulic lift rated for 11,000 pounds, which on paper sounds like it could hoist everything from a battered Subaru to a full-size pickup. The max lifting height is generous enough to clear the top of most trucks, but the min lifting height is where a lot of buyers get surprised. If your garage ceiling is under 12 feet, you'll find the lift can't fully raise a taller SUV without hitting the ceiling beam. That's a practical limitation that only shows up once the unit is actually installed, not in the product listing. Installation is the first real test of any shop lift. The LM110S comes as a set of two steel columns, a hydraulic pump, and two chain drive cylinders that attach to each column. The symmetric clear floor design means there's an open space under the lift, so you can roll a car straight onto the platform without having to navigate around a central column. In my shop, that saved a few seconds per car, but the trade-off is that you need a perfectly level, reinforced concrete slab to bear the load. I had to add a few steel plates under the pump to keep vibrations from rattling through the floor. If you're on a wooden garage floor, you'll need to invest in a proper subfloor or risk uneven lifting, which can be dangerous. One of the strongest practical points about this lift is the dual hydraulic chain drive cylinders. Because each side operates independently, you get a smoother lift compared to single pump systems that sometimes hunt for balance. In real use, when I lifted a 5,200 pounds Jeep, the lift rose evenly within a couple of seconds, and the hydraulic pump stayed relatively quiet, a low whine rather than a screech. That quiet operation matters if you share the shop with a neighbor or if you're working in a residential area where noise ordinances are a concern. The downside is that the pump draws a fair amount of electricity. It's a 220V unit, so you need a dedicated circuit. I had to upgrade my shop's breaker from 15A to 30A, which added a few $100s to the overall project cost. Now let's get into the day-to-day tasks that make a lift either a hero or a headache. If you're a tire shop, the clear floor design lets you roll a car straight onto the lift, change the wheels, and roll it off without fiddling with extra jacks. The lift's height range is perfect for getting under the suspension to replace shocks or work on the steering rack. Because the hydraulic cylinders are chain-driven, you can lock them in place without worrying about the pump losing pressure. That's a big plus when you're swapping out a differential and need the car to stay steady for a while. For a performance shop that does brake work, the lift stability is crucial. The two-post configuration provides a firm grip on the vehicle's chassis, and the 11,000 pounds rating means you can safely lift a fully loaded truck with the fuel tank, spare tire, and cargo still in place. I tested that by lifting a 6,800 pounds Ford F-150 with a full gas tank and a roof rack. The lift held steady, and there was no wobble even when I rocked the wheels slightly to check alignment. That confidence is something you can't quantify in a spec sheet, but matters a lot when you're working on a vehicle worth more than the lift itself. However, the lift isn't a universal solution. If you're a hobbyist who only needs to lift a compact car for occasional oil changes, the size and power of the LM110S may be overkill. The footprint of the lift, roughly 9 feet by 7 feet, eats up a large portion of a typical two-car garage. In my experience, the clearance around the columns leaves just enough room to maneuver a small sedan, but larger vehicles require careful parking. Also, the hydraulic pump needs periodic maintenance. You'll have to check the fluid level, replace seals occasionally, and bleed air from the system if you notice any sluggishness. That's not a deal breaker, but it's an ongoing cost and effort you won't find in a simple floor jack. Another practical weakness is the lack of built-in safety sensors. Some higher-priced lifts have automatic shutoff if the load exceeds,